and I was making dinner. And so I never looked at him. I just go, hey, Joseph, yeah, what do you think about, what do you think about sex? And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's just, and so I would ask all these questions as if it was nothing.
Yeah.
Just like nothing. You're going to have it? And he's like, oh, Darren. And I'm like, just, And he's like, well, I guess I thought I would wait till I was 16. Like, oh, okay, cool, 16, whatever.
My firstborn, I said, similarly, hey, so sex. And here's the way I've always approached it with the three of them. And it's gone well for me. You're going to have it. Mm-hmm. These are the things that you should remember. And my firstborn, when I said it, he went, ew, Dad, that's so weird. And he was 12, right, at the time. And I'm like, you kind of need to know this now. Like, there's some stuff. You're going to have it. Like, I can't say no, right? Even to my daughter, I can't say no. You're going to have it. Make sure it's safe. Make sure it's consensual. Make sure that you feel good about it.
I noticed that he wasn't ever making his bed. And so I just let it go and let it go and let it go. And then one day I just walked in the morning and go, hey, man. I said, because sometimes we just talk.
Yeah.
And I just go, I was reading this, I was watching this internet video, and this guy was a former military, like Marine guy. And he says that once he got out of the Marines, he got a little crazy because there was not a lot of structure.
Yeah.
And so one of the things he decided to do to get his day going right is the first thing he'd do is make his bed in the morning. And as a way of structuring them, immediately I have a task, whatever. And I said, and so I never made my bed for a long time, but now I do. Have you noticed? I make it every single day, first thing when I get up, because I wanted to do that. And then I also realized at the end of the day, it's so much cooler to get into a made bed than a dirty bed.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I said.
He started making his bed?
Yeah. Because it wasn't a rule per se, but it did make sense.
Hi everyone, Lorraine Zugula is my name, Head of People and Culture at Akili TV and Akili Network.
And I'm Jesse Soleil, President and co-founder of Akili. And we're here with our esteemed guest.
Yep.
I'll let him introduce himself. And today's topic is?
Balancing structure and freedom,
Fantastic.
especially as a parent.
Wow, how do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
You want me to answer?
Well, why don't you introduce yourself
My name is
first?
Darren Collins. I'm the director of Project Hand Up. It's an international charity based in Texas, USA, but I live here in Kenya for the last 10 years. We do health, disease prevention, and child safety education. And most of our material broadcasts on the Akili Kids Network.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. And full disclosure, Darren's one of my best friends. So he is actually.
Really?
Yeah. And,
I should bring my best friend.
you should.
Yeah. Like we could hang out.
Yeah.
But this is one of the reasons why I wanted him here was because I know him and I know his situation, which he'll talk about. And I think, he'll be an enlightening guest to be at the very least.
I can't wait. So tell us a bit about yourself. Now that I'm not in the know and Jesse's in the know, maybe I can know a bit about you.
A bit about me? Yeah. So I was raised a last born only, which means that when I was born, I was a mistake, not just an accident. I was a mistake. My mom thought she couldn't have any more kids. So all the rest of my siblings were grown and out of the house. So I was raised me and my mom and dad in a 5-bedroom house because the other 4 kids were already gone.
Yeah.
And so last born, but raised like an only child.
And what's the age gap between the last of your older siblings?
So one of them is actually pretty close. He's 8 years older, but he left home when I was about 8 years old. So by the time he was 15 or 16, he was gone.
Right.
And so then from there, it goes all the way up to 18 years older.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was I had older parents. My mom was probably like 38 when she had me, and my dad was probably 41.
Okay.
So I was raised with older folks.
Right.
Yeah.
Making me feel old.
Older than my peers.
Yeah.
Everyone else had, a lot of my friends had parents that were in the same graduating class as my older sister.
That's interesting because then how did structure look like for you? Because most parents, we were talking and we talked about the first child is like a pancake, and then the rest, they're the trial run. And then everyone else, you learn from the first one, yeah? And so for you is you're coming after they, I guess, think they're almost done with raising kids. So how did that look like for you?
It was very interesting because they didn't have any needs or requirements of me. I think they'd already realized that all your best efforts in the first 4 kids, they're their own people. They go their own directions. And so when they got to me, they're just like, I think we just support. So it was always like, do good work, do a good job, do whatever you want. We'll help you as much as we can.
And was that optimal? Was that great?
I mean, I'm happy now. It's different because my friends had a lot of expectations placed on their shoulders from their parents. And of course, it's very familiar for all my Kenyan friends, of course. There's all these expectations that are placed on them. So they never feel like they're 100% their own person. That was never in question for me. They did have rules and structure and everything, but it never felt like they had any needs that I was to fulfill on their behalf. That just didn't exist. Right. Now, they're also their age, not only were they older than me, but they were from a generation called the silent generation, which is a micro generation. It's not the war children. It's not the children of the boomers. It's this micro generation that are exemplified by not having strong opinions. They didn't feel like their voice meant much, and it was the people who keep their heads down and just do their thing, the silent generation. So that was also typified their generation in general, amplified with me being the last born. So their perspective was, go for it. Do the best. And that's it. That was all they had on me. And so that probably was too much freedom. I think I could have benefited from more structure and more discipline. But they weren't offering that. And so I do think some of my peers had a little bit better in the long run because discipline was part of the structure of growing up that I didn't have.
And did that influence your parenting style now? I do know you're a guardian.
Yeah, no, I'm probably worse than they were. I'm pretty permissive. But I think the permissiveness goes with the personalities of who you're raising. Because I did have also the fortune of living with a lot of families over the years. Being a traveling entertainer and performer, I had a lot of other friends who say, hey, you could stay with us when you're in town. So instead of staying at a hotel, I'd stay with a family. And then there were also other opportunities to stay for months with different families or travel with different families. So I saw different dynamics, and it was very clear that every child is unique and all of them require different sets of structure. Having a cookie cutter structure for every single child did not seem to be a recipe for success.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you became a guardian and the situation? And because we're going to get into talking about how this actually works, but for the last few years, you've been the ward of a boy, now young man. Yeah.
It was a neighbor. We all lived on the same compound out at Kitengela Glass. I guess ever seen or heard of Kitengela Glass? There's one outside in the lobby. That's a big property, many, many, many acres, and it was also a working farm. And so there was a lot of families living there. And during COVID, when COVID launched, the big pandemic launched into all of our lives, there was a sense that we needed to lock down the place a little bit and familiarize ourselves with all of our neighbors, because there was like 30 or 40 of us living on that property. And so we did. And there was a new family there, a mom and a couple of kids. And she was a housekeeper at one of the facilities there. And so I started, just because we're all locked down, I started teaching classes to the kids, just saying, hey, come over to my yard and we'll learn how to juggle. And one kid was really great, and that was Joseph. And he seemed to be more interested in learning things than everybody else. Everyone else wanted sort of free play. And he was like, what else? Well, show me how to do this. And so I showed him how to juggle. He got really, really good. And then when people were looking for outdoor activities to do in Nairobi, they would come out to Kitengela Glass because open air, it wasn't indoors. People felt kind of safe. We had some basic rules there. And Joseph started performing for the tourists as they'd come in. So the international tourists were few.
And how old was he at that point?
9.
Yeah.
He's probably 9 years old and 10 years old. And so I would talk to his mom and say, hey, and she said, nothing will pass him by. Everything possible to learn, that kid wants to learn. And so I have a bunch of goofy skills and fun things. And then we started shooting for the Akili Kids Network.
Yeah.
And I needed a kid who could, help out, and he was all about it. And so after time went on, I just became a little more interested in what he was up to, because his aptitude is pretty high. I think, that helps.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing for kids, is the kids who are precocious, the kids who are outgoing, and the kids who show interest tend to get treated better in school and at home.
Well, wait a second. I think what we really need to know is, where was his aptitude? Because I think, I know
it began with physical, feats of dexterity and stuff, juggling, and then unicycling. I got him a unicycle, or one of the crew from the puppet crew saw a unicycle for sale somewhere in Umoja. Was grabbed it and brought it to the office, and so he started doing that. So that's where it began. But then I started to notice, he also had an aptitude for pretty much any kind of education, really.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, as he got a little bit older, he had to go to boarding school. The neighborhood school didn't go past the 8-4. So now the next 4, he had to be taken away. And he went away with one of the neighbors who was also a ward of one of my coworkers. And they ended up at a school that was really not doing well, way out in Western. And there was like 70 kids per class. They're putting desks in the hallways. And he went from number 1 in his school to like 200th at this new school. And me and my coworker were like, we got to get these kids out of here. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And so at that point, all of a sudden, I was now sort of in charge of the kid, because
you took responsibility.
I had taken responsibility for seeing how bad it was at that other school.
Yeah.
So that's when he was like 13. And so ever since then, I've been the one sort of guiding his schooling. And then right now he's living with me in town instead of at Kittingella Glass. And so I'm taking him to basketball and soccer and horseback riding and skateboarding and to the farmer's market to hang out with friends, and deciding whether or not so immediately he just started treating me like I'm in charge.
Yeah.
so instead of asking his mother, he'd ask me permission to do things. So I call his mom, like, can he do this? But she was just yes.
Yeah.
She just thought, whatever you decide, Darren, is best.
Yeah.
So now I was like, I actually have to make decisions, because she's just going to blanket say yes, because he's a good kid. But in Lobbington, the opportunities to get into trouble are a little bit greater than they are out in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
And so now I have to I just ask all my peers questions. Like, is this safe? Did you see what Instagram? Do you think he can go here?
Yeah.
Is this all right? And people have wildly different answers. Some of my coworkers who have kids are just like, absolutely, you don't get to do anything. I would never let a kid go to a party. Like, okay, well, I'm not sure if I'm with you on that. And then some people are just like, well, he's a good kid, so just don't worry about it. And so I'm like, okay, I actually have to make these decisions on my own.
Yeah.
So I become a parent, but not by choice. It just sort of, by choice.
Well, it was by choice. Right?
By choice, but not by obligation.
You essentially adopted him.
Yeah.
And I think that's, for me, when I hear about this, I know him, and he's a good kid, like you said. He's also a teenager. Yeah. And teenagers tend to try out a lot of things, some of them fine and some of them probably not so good. And you have to navigate that. And you kind of just fell into it.
So, and there's 2 aspects to that I think are really important. What you just said is about they'll try everything. And the TV show that we have them do is called You Can Do Anything. Yeah. And so one of the things I learned very early on is I've always been sort of a camp counselor or a guide to younger kids. By the time I was in high school, I was volunteering to help take junior hires out on trips and stuff on behalf of the school system where I grew up. So I've always been a leader in some sort of way with younger kids. And one of the things that became clear was that one of the old time teachers, he was much, much older. He said, at this age, and he's talking about preteen, like 11 10, 11, 12. Because at this age, these kids are just as happy playing Red Rover, which is a silly little outdoor game, as they are trying marijuana.
Yeah.
They'll go either direction because the it's everything. You can be a kid, you could be an adult, you can try everything. And so it's a matter of leadership that steers them sort of in the right direction.
Yeah.
And the other aspect of that is I also had a teacher who said to us as we were junior high, preteen, she said, you guys can really do anything and you always can do anything. But the problem is once you guys get into high school, you start thinking of reasons why you can't do things. So right now, she would just present us with like an empty aquarium and say, go down to the ocean, find some creatures, put them in this tank and keep them alive, which is actually extremely hard to do with salt water. And that was the only instruction she gave.
Right.
She goes, the resources are in the library, figure it out. And we would do it. And then she'd say, now we have a closed caption television station at the school. You guys make a TV program. Again, no instructions, just a little bit of textbooks and some instruction manuals.
Do the research.
Do the research yourself. And she said, but here's the deal. You guys can do this.
Yeah.
Now, the high schoolers, they can't. They'll always think of reasons why they can't.
They
Something
can't,
happens to our brains as society begins to mold us into things, challenges. I'm not good at that. Or you hear that maybe that's not your strength, and so you don't pursue it. And so it seems like we stack more and more and more impossibilities upon ourselves as we age. So there's this cool sweet spot that Joseph happens to have been in when I met him and is sort of still in now. So recently his school invited him to go to Uganda for the drama festival, the International Drama Festival.
Yeah.
And so he said, Darren, I have to get a passport. I go, okay, go for it. I was, well, how do I do it? Just figure it out. So he ended up going online, going to the e-citizen, realizing he's a kid, he can't make an account. So he made an account for his mom and then followed up with it and applied for his own passport. And it is on a timer. So it took him like 10 tries to get all the information from his head and from the documentation he had to get it onto this website. He goes, I don't really know how this goes. I go, well, what are your peers doing? And they go, their parents do it for them. I'm like, well, I'm not doing this for you.
Definitely.
You figure it out. You figure it out.
You can do anything.
So he did. And then because it took speed, when he finally got it approved and it came through, he had accidentally put today's date instead of his birth date on that final one. So now it's an error and he can't travel. I go, oh, you got to fix this. And he's got like 4 days before he goes on the trip. He goes, how do I fix it? I'm like, well, ask. And so he sends an email and they go, oh, you have to come to Nyayo House in order to have this done. It can be done in time, but you do have to come down. So he goes, yeah, it says I have to go to immigration. I go, all right, well, Steve's our driver. He can take you. You're not coming? Nah, I don't like Nyayo House. You just go with Steve. He'll drop you off in front.
Yeah.
So I never let on that this is hard or that he couldn't do it. This is the next step.
Right.
So he goes into Nyayo House. He goes to the window from the email that says go to window 13 or whatever. He gets this lady. She goes, where's your guardian?
Yeah.
And he's like, I have to do it. And she goes, you don't know how to do this. And you're not going to remember all the instructions that I give you. And he's like, well, just go ahead and just tell me. She doesn't realize she's been emailing him this whole time. He knows who she is. Yeah. And she's like, you can't do this. There's no way you're going to remember what to tell your mother. And then he comes out and he gets it and it's done. He did it all by himself, 100%, and he went to Uganda. And I just love that I just never gave him the impression that this was not possible or that he shouldn't be capable of doing it himself. And so he has. And he's probably the only kid in all of Nairobi who's been to Nyayo House to handle immigration
by himself.
Definitely.
At 14 years old.
Yeah, but that's really helpful.
Yeah.
I think, right? Navigating the government.
I don't know how I'd feel about it if my mom sent me out into the world, go to Nyayo House. I the earliest.
But if you were 14 and you still felt like you could do anything.
Yeah. He doesn't know what he can't do yet.
Maybe, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good way to approach things. Maybe it's like, you can figure it out.
I think that's a huge part of it. And it doesn't even have to be structured. It can just be go there.
Yeah.
Do it.
I never made it hard or anything. I never implied that it would be difficult. Like, so you have to go to immigration.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So now you got to redo it.
So what happens when he finds adults like the immigrations lady who's like, no, you're a child, you can't do it, does his mind go to, okay, I can't do it? Or now, because of how you've taught him and how you're raising him, his mind is immediately, no, but I can try.
He's very quiet, so I imagine he just thought to himself,
I can do this.
This doesn't matter what she's saying because she doesn't realize I'm the one who's been talking to her all along. He's not going to throw it in her face.
Yeah.
And he didn't really have any side comments. He just came back and said,
he has mom's and your implicit permission to do this. So
he has permission.
I mean, from that perspective, it's not like he's going to get home and get in trouble for trying this stuff out.
So now contrast that with this other thing where he's like, hey, a bunch of my friends are going to a party I'd like to go to. And so I look it up and it looks like there's kid DJs, I suppose. And I ask a bunch of people and they say, well, it is, I guess it's designed for kids. But basically there's young people who are like 19 or 20 who throw parties. They hire out legitimate places, sell tickets, and they go. And that was harder because that's also, I can do anything.
Yeah.
Why couldn't I go to a party? And so that required a lot of conversation.
And that was a sleepover party.
No, not a sleepover.
Oh, okay. All right.
That wouldn't happen. I probably would draw the line at sleep. Now, if it was, I don't know, sleepover parties, if it was a bunch of dudes, bunch of boys staying at someone's house and it's a parent I knew,
okay,
that might be okay.
Yeah.
But that's pushing it a little bit. Sleepover is different. This was a challenge because this required the conversations of talking about drugs and alcohol and sex. And so I wanted to make sure that all those conversations took place.
Wait, so this was the first time you talked about any of those topics with him?
I talked about sex with him probably a year ago, and that because I really feel like he got get ahead of that stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes to drugs and alcohol, no, I hadn't talked about that yet.
And just out of what was the context of the conversation?
Which
like
one?
It's gonna sex, drugs, alcohol.
Oh, for the sex one, I was trying to figure out the most non-confrontational way to do it that would leave him most interested in talking about it. So what I did is he was sitting on the couch by it's an open kitchen, open area of my house, which is just right across from his mom's house, a few meters, a few dozen meters. And I was making dinner, and so I never looked at him. I just go, "Hey, Joseph, what do you think about what do you think about sex?" And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's just And so I would ask all these questions as if it was nothing.
Yeah,
just like nothing. Hey, you're gonna have it? And he's like, "Oh, Darren." And I'm like, "Just And he's like, "Well, I guess I thought I would wait till I was 16." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, 16, whatever." And I keep doing stuff. And I go, "How? What do you think what's good about it? What's good about this?" And he would answer just sort of like, "Well, it's because my friends would think it's cool, and I want to try everything or whatever or something." And then I said, "Well, what's bad? What's bad about it?" "Well, my mom would be mad." I go, "Oh, your mom, okay." And then what else? Give me like 3 things. And again, I'm not looking at him. I'm just cooking.
Yeah.
And then I wish I could remember all the questions very well because I think it was the best conversation we ever had, honestly.
Wow.
But I just said, who does it affect? And what I'm trying to lead to is be respectful, be safe, be sure, make sure that she also is on the same page as you. That's what I'm trying to get to. So I'm just trying to get him to answer questions about whether or not if he's thought it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he hadn't.
Right.
And almost every single answer he came to was about other people's thoughts.
Sure.
And so that was very interesting. Gosh, I wish I would have prepared this because I had pretty specific questions and pretty specific answers. So I'm sorry for not being prepared with the sex question. But it was astonishing to me that none of it had to do with the feelings of sexuality.
Right.
None of his thoughts about it were about that. It was all exterior. What would my friends think? How would my mom think? How would my church think, et cetera? None of it was. So I had to try to draw it back to him in such a way.
What do you think?
Yeah. And then there are other people involved. So how do you think she would feel?
Yeah.
You know, your partner. And so maybe she would feel bad if she felt guilty or something or whatever. And so, I don't know. It was a great conversation, and it was totally non-confrontational. And I don't know if parents could get away with it, with the conversation that I had, because I think parents would already have had rules placed year after year after year after year, and parents would probably have all kinds of discipline actions that have been happening time over time over time.
Sure.
And parents would already have a backlog of things they disapproved of that their kids had done.
Yeah.
I came in with a clean slate.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for me. So I feel like this might be a conversation for an uncle or for a trusted friend of the family or something to have with their kids.
Yeah.
Because I was astonished at how easily it went and how deep we actually got to go.
Right.
But it was because there was obviously no judgment coming from me.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was leading somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was really about like, put this off as long as possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely use protection. Make sure the girl's on the same page, you know, because I couldn't just say no.
Yeah.
Don't do this. That's not one of the,
Yeah.
all the research says that is not a wise approach.
Absolutely. Well, so I've got 3, as you know, and I've had to have that. And I say I've had to because it was important that I had those conversations with the boys, you know, the oldest one and the youngest one, and my daughter. And
Separately,
but,
all of them.
Well, not all together. The first one, my firstborn, I said similarly, hey, so sex, and here's the way I've always approached it with the 3 of them, and it's gone well for me. You're gonna have it. These are the things that you should remember. And my firstborn, when I said it, he went, "Ew, Dad, that's so weird." And he was 12, right, at the time. And I'm like, you kind of need to know this now. Like, there's some stuff. You're gonna have it. Like, I can't say no, right? Even to my daughter, I can't say no. You're gonna have it. Make sure it's safe. Make sure it's consensual. Make sure that you feel good about it. And starting from it's gonna happen, not don't. But starting from it will, because it will. I mean, everybody ends up having it. Yeah. So what's the...
Nuns, probably not.
Yeah, right.
Not
Maybe they had it before they
Let's think
went.
of exceptions.
Yeah.
There's nuns.
Monks.
Not that we know about. But I think realistically, as a parent, it's your job to set the context.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about the other things, but I lumped them all together. I said, look, you're going to do it. There are things you're going to try. And it's natural. It's human. You're going to want to try it. Here are the things that you might need to remember, that you should remember. And the main thing around sex was safety and consent, and and make sure that you feel comfortable, right? Especially to my daughter, and my oldest still wiggling out and trying to say this is weird. And now he's married. He's had one partner, and he probably waited until her. I don't know what my daughter's doing, but she told me she wants to be a virgin forever.
Right. Well, and I think the key is this is the subset of discussions that you have to have long before they're confronted with the question. So drugs and alcohol, sex, cheating at school or stealing or any of these sort of bad behaviors, I think they need to be addressed as early as possible, because as I explained to him, I said, it's a good thing that we need to talk about this now, because that's a hard decision to make when you're faced with it for the first time.
Right, absolutely.
And so that's where it dovetailed into the drugs and alcohol part, is like, we need to decide now how you respond if someone you trust, admire, or even love asks you to do this thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be a stranger. It's not going to be some guy who's like, hey, man, try this. It's not going to be a random person. And so...
I think this feels so foreign to me. It feels so foreign because typically in any African household, or in most African households, one, we don't have that conversation. It's like a no-go zone, go zone for that conversation. And two, the time you learn about it is not from your parents. So you'll hear it in, as you said, Joseph, church, right? Church will be like, yeah, no sex till you're married.
Do it.
Yeah, don't do it. And that's the only thing you hear about. Just don't do it, you know? Yeah. And then with your parents, I mean, you never think to cross that line where you can have that conversation. So the only time you're interacting with that conversation is either online, with friends, and then church is just don't, because we said
peers telling
right?
you, oh God, you know how awesome it is.
Exactly.
You should try it.
Exactly.
Or even one's lying about how awesome it is because they wish everyone thought they were doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had a board member who, because I run the charity for the disease prevention stuff, and she's a medical doctor. And she was also part of the abstinence only programs of the Texas Baptists.
Yeah.
And she actually came to me and said, I have reversed my position completely on this in abstinence education. I now see, and she's a very strong Christian. And I would say she's more like other Kenyans than anyone I know in terms of her conservative nature of that. And she said, no, I reversed my position. I've seen the evidence. And abstinence-only education is actually a detriment. You get more teen pregnancy and you get more early marriages when you preach only abstinence only. That was amazing to me to see that happen.
We actually talk about it with some friends, and we're like, what we wish our parents or even the church would do, because I'm also a Christian, is tell us the why. Like, why wait? You know, what's the purpose of the wait? Like, don't tell us just don't do till you're married, right? And then weirdly enough, over the weekend I had my bridal shower because I'm getting married, and now the women from the church want to tell you about it. You know, finally we are getting to that conversation. I'm just like, okay, interesting.
Timing, right?
But talk about it. I would have loved to have a conversation like that when I was young and know the opinion, right? And of course, as a parent, you can't imagine having that conversation with your child. And when these conversations, I guess, even with young parents and that are coming up and realizing, okay, if I don't tell them, they'll learn about it from friends and peers, like I learned about it, or from the internet, which now they have easier access to, right?
Yeah.
And that early information will formulate their opinion, and even from movies will formulate their opinion. So it's important to have these discussions, but you're just like, okay, where are we starting? And it feels like, and a lot of people are saying we are getting westernized because of having these conversations and allowing these conversations, where I'm just like, the world is moving and it's moving in a certain directions, and the children are getting exposed to every single thing. So why not get ahead of it, right? Yeah. Before they get the knowledge from somewhere else and that formulates their opinion. And because you've already put this barrier or this boundary, they know they can't come to you for it. And it's interesting. I was having a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about even for children who get abused, they never tell it to their parents because there's already that wall up of we don't have these conversations in the house. Yeah. So even if it happens in your own house, if it's a maid, if it's a relative, I just won't tell you because we don't have these conversations. It's like it's a taboo to talk about it completely. Yeah. So if someone makes me uncomfortable, if someone looks at me the wrong way, touches me the wrong way, I just won't tell you because we don't talk about it. So I'll have to figure out how to deal with it on my own and figure out if I'm going to a friend or a trusted source where I can actually pour out the feelings, or years later, I'll be like, oh yeah, this happened to me when I was young. And someone asks you, did you tell anyone? Did you tell your parents? I'm like, no.
And dealing with it on your own is not like going to Nyayo House to get your passport sorted.
No, yeah.
I mean, you've got a whole bunch of other stuff going on.
Thing, yeah.
It's very difficult. And obviously it becomes more difficult the younger you are. So, I mean, not to just focus on that one part of the conversation, but I think when you think about who the best person you might be would look like, that best person takes everything from every culture and puts it together and becomes that best person. It isn't singularly, that's not what we do. if we get something from the West that's, makes sense, if this helps, you know what? Maybe it'll reduce teen pregnancy. I don't know. Have the damn conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important. Okay. Yeah.
Well, and also I would submit that the idea of not talking about sex is actually Western, because that came with the missionaries.
Yeah.
I imagine hundreds of years ago, African families had these conversations, but it wasn't until the Christian missionaries came. Because my family are historically ministers and pastors, and there's a classic story in my family of when a cousin who came home pregnant and told her pastor father, "I'm pregnant," and of course he was angry, and she said, "But Dad, I wasn't dancing." Because they had always said, you don't go dancing because you'll end up pregnant. They kept the discussion of actual sex so far away.
Yeah.
They were so not permissive that the children were not armed with the education to even know what caused pregnancy.
Right.
And that comes from going way too far with not being permissive. That was, don't play cards because cards happen at parties and there's alcohol at parties. Don't dance because dance will get your emotions going and then you'll get pregnant, So so
it's like trickle down theory.
Yeah. and those are the people who came to Africa to preach the gospel. So I think the idea of talking about things is I would hope isn't so much a Western idea. It's just a really good idea. That probably has, I'll bet African families hundreds of years ago had great conversations.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, hopefully they did. Probably they did.
The ancestors had good conversations with their brethren.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so deciding where to let permission happen and not, I did let Joseph go to that party.
Okay.
And when I got there, I found a security guy and I said, "Yo, what's going on here?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "The kids are pretty safe here. There's going to be hundreds of them, but there's quite a few. I'm the chief of security. I'm going to be watching." And I said, "This is the first time I've let this kid go to a party." He goes, I'll keep my eyes on him.
Right.
And I go, "Okay." But he said, you don't actually have anything to worry about tonight. And so we let it happen. And he had a good time with his friends, etc. But now he asked to go to a second party a month later.
Yeah.
Well, me already having a fairly good experience with that, I let him go. It was a Halloween thing.
Okay.
And when I got there, there was kids with alcohol in the parking lot. I saw them. There was girls showing up that looked like they were, going to or something like this.
Right.
It was like, what's going on? And they had blended. They had wristbands to show that you can't buy alcohol, but there was alcohol available for sale. And I said, "Look, you got 2 hours." He said, "What? We'll barely start, by 9:00. I said, I dropped him off at 7 at dark, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I know he was excited about it, and he really wanted to go. And I just said, "No, I'm going to go have dinner, and when I'm done at dinner, I'm picking you up." And he didn't complain much, but he did say, "It looks like people are just now arriving."
Yeah.
And I go, "Yeah, but we got to go home." And so that was the end of that, because that was different. And so I didn't want to give him the impression that it's always yes and it's always you get to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I also was told by some other my colleague, she said, just him knowing that someone cares is very helpful.
Yep.
Just there's someone paying attention who cares enough to say no whenever. And then I just didn't like that party. I really thought this is not the right thing. They're not a good vibe. And I know he was already being taken advantage by some of the rich kids at school, because he's one of the only kids who grew up in the village. And so there's some weird power dynamics but he's famous, right? Because he's on the television show. So everyone kind of knows who he is, and the rich kids know. But these kids, they stay in Runda. One of his friends has like 5 Mercedes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So the next weekend, I contacted someone that I knew he'd lost contact with. I found a family that I knew when they were little kids, they were friends.
Yeah.
And it turns out they had horses. And so I said, "Hey, let me get your phone number." Hooked him up, said, "Hey, your old friend Marcus, he's got horses." And he goes, "Oh, cool." And then he went horseback riding the next weekend. And I made sure the next question I asked was, "Where'd you have more fun? At that party or horseback riding with your buddy?" He goes, "Oh, horseback riding was so much." Okay, cool. Just note that.
Yeah.
Note that the alcohol and party stuff seems really cool because it has Instagram promotions.
Right.
But your actual good times happened, out in the countryside, playing with your friends, playing.
Yeah.
Playing is more fun.
Yeah.
So I didn't say it that way, but I'm trying to steer his head to realize friendships and playfulness always end up being more fun.
Well, I'm going to
than
risk
party.
saying that sounds kind of intentional. It's like you were thinking about
Yes,
what
absolutely.
what the best scenario, not just what the best scenario might look like, but how to steer him in the right direction as opposed to push him in the right direction.
Yeah.
Push him in the direction that your opinion is.
Yeah.
I think this is true, and therefore you should listen to what I'm saying.
Right.
You're a guide.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the same, I noticed that he wasn't ever making his bed. And so I just let it go and let it go and let it go. And then one day I just walked in the morning and go, hey, man. I said, because sometimes we just talk.
Yeah.
And I just go, I was reading this, I was watching this internet video, and this guy was a former military, like Marine guy. And he says that once he got out of the Marines, he got a little crazy because there was not a lot of structure.
Yeah.
And so one of the things he decided to do to get his day going right is the first thing he'd do is make his bed in the morning. And as a way of structuring them, immediately I have a task, whatever. And I said, and so I never made my bed for a long time, but now I do. Have you noticed? I make it every single day, first thing when I get up, because I wanted to do that. And then I also realized at the end of the day, it's so much cooler to get into a made bed than a dirty bed.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I said.
He started making his bed.
Yeah. Because it wasn't a rule per se,
Yeah.
but it did make sense,
Yeah.
and
And it wasn't make your bed.
yeah.
It wasn't a directive.
Now he probably would,
Yeah.
if I did that.
Right.
But I'm just not. I don't want to set myself up as that guy who's just like always walks in with a complaint.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right. I know you're a guardian, and you're very thoughtful about this. What do you think parents should do? How should parents approach?
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. One of them says make it. The other one goes, whatever. Shh, it's okay.
I don't know. I'm not a parent, so I don't have that sort of connection of this is the fruit of my loins, and there's nothing. Caring adds a lot more emotion to it. So I'm able
Well, wait
to
a second.
separate
You
myself.
care about this kid.
Of course I did, but I
Yeah.
do. But it's probably different. But what I'm
Maybe.
saying is it's a little bit easier for me to do this thing where I can suppress it when I'm angry, because I've been angry at him probably 4 times.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because
I've
I
been
got
absolutely angry. But I'm really careful about just not responding in the moment.
Yeah.
I just go, this can be a conversation I can have next week. This can be a conversation I can have tomorrow. It won't be more helpful to have it today.
Yeah. And while I'm pissed and triggered and all that.
And then occasionally there'll be times where I go, this is not a very big deal, but I can show emotion here so he understands that I care.
Yeah.
So I'm really deliberate with whether I show anger and then when I address things that displease me.
And is that hard for you? Like, just generally
That's not hard for me.
speaking?
I can compartmentalize pretty easily.
Okay.
Yeah, not at work. Yesterday, I definitely screamed. Usually at the printer or some sort of inanimate object.
Dang you, print.
Yeah.
Print.
So no, I do struggle. That's one of my biggest struggles is probably showing of anger at small things. But at big things, I'm usually able to stop.
And is it because you want to be careful with your words, what you say, how you structure it, how it will be perceived as well?
I want it to work. And I've seen parents who are constantly correcting. And I feel like it becomes like white noise to the kid, where it's just like the parent's voice is just what I numb out. I don't want to hear this, and so yeah.
Well, do you think, okay, I know those parents too, and I'm not one of them. I do yell. We can talk about that too. But I think there is a question of at what point not only does a child stop listening, but do you really stop understanding why the behavior, as opposed to just reacting to behavior? Like, you can get angry and frustrated. You didn't do the thing that I said, or you didn't do something. This is common sense. You should know it. I mean, there are things, there are reactions. And oftentimes what you said, and I don't want to let it go, is you take time to think about what your response is going to be. And that's not typical for a lot of parents, right? You just get angry, you get triggered, you get pissed, and the child is at the other end of this. So are they going to learn, or are they just going to be confronted with your frustration?
Well, that's the other thing. It's way easier to win an argument if you're not angry.
Yeah.
And so if you actually do want to make a point to the kid, you're unlikely to do your best job the moment you're angry.
Yeah.
When we forget, our memory shuts down when we're angry. We don't choose the words the way we wish when we're angry.
Yep.
But I tell you what, coming back to that kid 2 days later and sitting down and saying, "Can I talk to you about something?"
Yeah.
It feels heavy, and it feels way more thoughtful. And as the parent, you're going to do a way better job at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My version of that is I get angry, and then I immediately return afterwards within the next, couple hours and say, "Hey, I'm sorry. I got angry. That wasn't cool.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have. This is how I felt, and this is why." And like with my lastborn, his comments are always, "It's okay." And I'm like, "No, it's not okay." And I think you had a similar situation, Lorraine.
Yeah, I did. My mom is used to be, actually. And it was from our conversations, the blind spots that she kind of toned down. But, the typical African mother in African household is the mom is always kind of like the bad cop, or she's the one who will always make noise about everything. Mm-hmm. So ideally, you've not washed the dishes. Mm-hmm. The house is dirty. The typical, because she runs the household. And if she tells you to do something, by the time I'm coming back home, you better have done it. And if not, it's just absolute chaos, right? But she learned to say sorry. And at the moment where we told her it's not helpful that when you enter into the house, the first thing is you notice everything that has not been done, and the things that have been done will not be mentioned. Right. So I put an effort, I made an effort, but you'll talk about, these dishes have not been washed, and I still don't like washing dishes, honestly.
That happens with my wife, so I know it's still,
it's
whether you're a child or an
right?
adult.
Yeah. And I think for me, I kind of think about it, I'll be more conscious, even with my kids, that I don't, because you try so hard to be something and end up becoming like the evil not really evil, Mom, you're not evil, but the evil that you're trying to escape. So it's that when she also learned to apologize, and the go-to answer for maybe almost everyone is it's okay when it's not, and it's realizing as a parent you have to be like, no, it's not okay. It wasn't right, and I'm apologizing. And you have to realize that, you can't go in the world thinking just an apology solves everything, right? Let's have a conversation around it. How did it make you feel? And, do you forgive me? And I'll try to do better and things like that. But most parents are not like that. And I guess maybe also as a human, it's hard to apologize or admit that you're wrong. So even getting angry and lashing out, even not only at kids, but it's even hard for us to do it with partners, with colleagues. It's just I'm angry in the moment, and I'll just
but it's vulnerability. I mean, your mom demonstrated that right when she was here. I think we forget often, and we've talked about that before, we forget as parents that we're not, our word is not law. We act like it. We act like I'm the head of the household. This is my word. Do as I say. And that's not true, especially as they grow older and they become independent, which is kind of what our goal is, right? I mean, isn't our goal as parents to grow great people?
Yeah.
But if we are so directive, and this is kind of the background of your story, right? If you're directive, all they do is, if they don't follow your directions, then they get punished. And if they do, they learn that they need someone to direct them in order to have their life expand, to live their best life.
I try to make it as fun and funny as possible. Like I really need him to wash the dishes. Like he doesn't really contribute anything to the house. And so that's the one thing I hate. And I know he hates it too. I used to find him in the village, like like just like washing all. I'm like, dude, that's not all you do is wash this. He goes, oh, I hate this job. and so now that I'm his guardian, like I remember how much he hated it, but he was always out there, you know, out in the open air, washing dishes with buckets or whatever. And so when he comes to my house, I'm like, hey, dude, you want to do your favorite thing? He's like, what's that? I'm like, wash my dishes. He's like, oh, and so I'm joking. Obviously, I was trying to make him laugh, but he has to do it.
Yeah.
And so making him laugh by being sarcastic or silly or getting him really excited and then letting him know it's actually dishes that he has to do. But he's not okay with all humor.
Yeah.
So because I feel like humor is a great way to motivate kids, but like he's not okay with like teasing. I said, yo, you're a dork. I am not a dork.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Yeah. I was just playing. And I tried another one like that a couple of weeks later. And I'm not. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
So teasing is not one of the kinds of humor that he's okay with. However, I did find the other day, I had left, there was a ton of dishes. When I came home, they're all clean. I didn't say anything, but the next morning I said, hey man, by the way, I came home last night and all the dishes were done. Thank you. That's solid.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't telling him to do it that time.
It was positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement instead.
Interesting. So for kids, and because both of you are parents, guardians, how do you go about creating the different healthy boundaries at different stages and ages in their lives? Because now you've been with Joseph for about how many years?
5.
Yeah, 5 years, and different ages, different stages in his life, right? So setting those healthy boundaries where there are moments we can joke and be friends about it, but the moment that, yeah, you gotta do this, I'm strict and I have tough conversations.
And I want to add the moments that you're mad to that because, you know, those boundaries are sometimes being crossed. And that's one of the things that triggers your frustration.
I think you have to always decide, is it because their behavior put them in danger or just was annoying to me?
Yeah.
Because they're absolutely annoying to me all the time. Just the stupid, dumb stuff he does.
Yeah.
Just
that's a teenage thing.
Yeah, he's a teenager. So that's a different category than like, no, that decision puts you in danger.
Yeah.
And so now. So that's sort of how it is because there was fewer opportunities to put himself in danger. I mean, we lived in the forest. So there was like a lot of like,
you're going to get
eaten by a leopard or attacked by a baboon or whatever. So there's that kind of danger.
Yeah.
And that was real. I mean, we really deal with that. And he certainly had some close calls, and so did I. But that's completely different than like parties in Lavington.
Yeah.
And you know, going for a walk on certain roads. So, you know, I do a lot of preemptive, hey, this is the route to Kawangware. So when you're walking here are the do's and don'ts. You got to think this through. And so if he does do something, hey, did you literally do that after dark?
Yeah.
Okay, sit down.
Yeah.
That I'll be serious about. But then if it's just irritating to me, losing stuff,
right.
That's been an interesting boundary where there was a period where I just fixed all of his mistakes. And then there came a period where I go, okay, you need the consequence of this. No, I'm not going to go call the Uber guy because you left your earphones in there. They're gone forever and you're not getting new ones.
Yeah.
Because this is the third time you've lost them.
Right.
Okay. If it's a little kid who's just new in the world, yeah, right. I fixed that. But 14, 15, you need to get your stuff together. You need to feel consequences.
Yeah, you're responsible.
Yeah.
How do you teach responsibility?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. And a lot of guidance, you know, you're on the move. You're going from here to there, from there to here. And so if you're on the move, little things get left behind. So let's go through the steps. Before you hit this door, go, okay, what could I possibly left behind? Look down, look high, look low, look low. Grab the things because it's always going to be the smallest thing that causes the biggest problem. Your phone charger, you know, and there's also hard, fast rules. You don't leave the house with your phone at less than 80%. I have to be able to contact you all day long.
Do you check it? Like, how is that reinforceable? Do you check it? Or he just knows and
I don't.
You trust that?
Yeah.
So you mentioned Uganda earlier. I know a little bit about this story. Do you want to just enlighten Lorraine in the audience.
He lost everything. Literally every single thing. He lost all of his clothes.
Not his life, thank God. But,
He ended up losing his phone. His phone got jacked, and he literally didn't have any clothes. In fact, on the way to the bus, he's like, "Oh, I forgot my towel and toothbrush and whatever." So we're going through Quick Mart and buying everything on the way, and then on the bus ride over, he lost every single thing.
Is this before getting to Uganda? Yep. Before?
Yep.
On his way, right? Yep. It just.
Yep.
Oh, I'm here and I have nothing.
Yeah.
What were they stolen? I have so many questions.
Yeah, it's the most convoluted teenage experience you can possibly imagine. So I cannot bore the audience with this story, but I just imagine pure chaos. Anyway, but what was really interesting is that this was on the backs of losing all kinds of things, just forgetting things and losing things. And when we got ready to go to third term, I was taking him to buy extra food for boarding school. And I found him in the office supply aisle. I go, what are you doing? And he goes, well, I'm getting some Post-it notes and some pencils and a notebook so I can set reminders for myself not to forget things.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, all right, dude, cool. So he's proactive. He gets it. I've been losing too much. I need to have a system. So he built himself a system.
And has that improved?
He hasn't lost a lot of things lately. He has lost one thing, but that actually baffles me too. I don't know where it went. And I feel like just as culpable as him, but otherwise, no, he hasn't been losing things.
That's amazing because as an it's actually life skills for as an adult. You do meet people who lose everything.
The thing is, I can't make him feel bad about this stuff.
Yeah.
I have this, I have to encourage him to get better and not to feel like a loser because you got to feel bad when you lose all your stuff.
Yeah, you do.
And so I can't add an extra layer of guilt by being angry about it.
What was your first reaction when he told you he's lost everything?
To him or just in my mind, I'm exploding.
And to him?
And to him, I just want to listen. Just to tell me how to happen, man.
You were pretty pissed, if I remember correctly, though.
But not at him.
No, we talked about.
In real life, I was absolutely.
Yeah, you were angry.
But to him, I'm just like, let me hear this through.
Yeah.
Because it makes me angry, but it must hurt when you don't have underwear for 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, he still went to Uganda.
Oh yeah.
With nothing.
Yes. I didn't find out till the end of the trip. He called me. He was like, I'm having a really bad time. I'm like, what? You're having a bad time? But that's a really special thing because this kid is ready to party. He's ready to experience the world. He's ready to travel. He's ready to go to immigration. And yet at some point he goes, Darren, I just kind of miss my mom. Okay, can I just go home for a couple of days? Yeah, man, you can do that. They're not one person. There are many people at this age.
Yeah, and they're still children.
Yeah.
I mean, 14 seems big. He's grown.
Yeah.
He's grown.
I almost ran to my house because I thought someone was breaking in.
Yeah. And it was just him.
He was just so big. Like, when did you grow?
Yeah. My 16-year-old is now same height as me and weighs just as much as me. And, he's a guy and you forget that they're still children. So the balance between friendship and mentorship, I think that's kind of the question you were asking earlier. Yeah. Like, I want to be a parent. I have rules, but I want to be a friend and I want to be cool and I want to maintain a relationship, but I want to make sure that, there are do's and don'ts. How do you navigate that? Beyond just, you're very thoughtful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do parents, especially parents of multiple kids, how do you think they should start thinking? I mean, and you probably have some advice and don't say, please, I'm not a parent because you are. You are responsible for a child who you love. That's parenting.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What advice would you give? What mentorship?
I think we have to just try to do better than our own parents. I think that's one of our responsibilities. Because I think you look at your kid and I just want you to be better than me. And so as a result, we have to give ourselves the sort of grace to say, I really just need to be better than my mom and dad because they made some goofy mistakes too. And so, but the question of like drawing the line for responsibility I think be as encouraging and permissive as possible by setting up the context way ahead of time. I didn't say yes to the party the moment I was confronted with it. I had already discussed with him long before that about drugs and alcohol and about sex and that sort of thing. Like, eventually you'll have to make those decisions. So I also was preparing myself to not have to make a permissive decision in that very, very moment. I'd done some preparation ahead of time. So that was
intentional.
Yeah, being super intentional and sort of thinking of it before it happens. So I guess if you have multiple kids, by the time you get to the third one, you may have forgotten, I didn't have the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to keep that in mind. And then for the firstborns, I think you really need to relax. I think that's a really tricky thing I see. Are you a firstborn?
No.
No.
Second.
We did an improv class at the comedy club 2 weekends ago. And when we did it, me and another guy had to be children, like 5-year-olds in a library. And the sketch just didn't work out right. He kept fighting with me instead of playing. Because the scene was your little kids in a library, so I was being inappropriate and sorry, too loud or whatever. Yeah. And my partner was just like ruining the scene. And then afterwards, we realized in real life he's a firstborn.
Yeah.
So in the scene, the way he dealt with being a child was telling me to stop.
Yeah.
Because he was a firstborn whose parents were so strict with him that he had to raise the other kids in real life. And that's hard for people.
We always say firstborns are like the deputy parent.
Yeah, and it's
right?
because the parents are new.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing yet. I've seen it so many times.
Pancake.
So
that fast pancake.
Yeah. So you gotta. I think for parents, for me, this is my first, but I'm old. You know, I'm not raising him when I'm in my early 20s.
Older and wiser.
I'm almost 50.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for me to go, okay, I can't be the super, super strict guy.
Yeah.
I have to be thoughtful and think it through and be really permissive based on, okay, but it's not blanket, because I remember there was a child, one of my buddies had a kid, and I was just like encouraging him to do stupid stuff. Just, you climb up there and jump off. And he goes, my buddy goes, Darren, wait. He goes, you don't understand. My child doesn't understand sarcasm at all. He will do dangerous things.
Yeah.
Like, really? He goes, yeah, I see what you're doing here, but it doesn't work with this particular kid. He'll make dangerous choices if you joke about it. Like, oh, okay. They're all very different.
Right.
So I think I personally would be permissive as possible based on the actual personality of the kid I'm working with.
Got it.
And let me walk back to, you said Joseph is more silent, a bit quieter. So how does he know how to articulate when he's having challenges or problems? And if not, how do you kind of like see it, observe it, and deal with it when you're having like a silent child, especially firstborns? Many firstborns are silent. And like my older brother,
beat into submission.
My older brother, my mom would be like, with your brother, and then this is when I'm a bit older, and to date, you kind of cannot tell when he's struggling. Like if I'm struggling, I'll be like, I don't like this. I'm not happy, and I'll speak it out. But he'll be like, I'll figure it out on my own, and he wouldn't say it. But you can sometimes kind of see he's struggling, but he wouldn't also admit that he's struggling. So for you, if Joseph is silent, does he articulate it? Is it something that you brought him to?
I'm very fortunate. No, we didn't talk about it. Well, actually, no. One of the things I told him very intentionally was, you are allowed to make mistakes. You can fail, whatever, but you have to talk about them. So the moment something you've done is incorrect, or you've broken something or whatever, come to me and talk immediately, because the trouble will be bigger if I have to find out.
Right.
And so he's kept that to heart. And so, yes, he almost got suspended from school for big problems. And he showed up at Kitengela Glass and immediately sent me a message to say, Darren, are you home? I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And so I went, and the person, the other, his driver, his guardian, had seen the trouble at school and actually ended up calling me because he really thought Joseph was going to hide it from me. was like, oh, he brought it up to you? I go, yeah. He goes, oh, I just thought I was calling to tell you what happened at school because there's no way he would tell his guardian all this stuff. I don't know. He told me everything. And then he has done that time and time again. I'm really having a hard time with this. But and he also does it about like body stuff, like whether it's acne or some sort of weird problem with his body. He's like, I'm having this thing. Okay. So yes, he's very quiet, but he will say it. And I think it's just because I put up that directive. Talk about stuff.
There's huge power in safety of honesty, right?
Yeah.
When we put up these barriers where I'm the parent, I know what's best, and these are kids. They're always going to do something different. They're always going to explore the options. They're always going to be curious about why my way is it's my way or the highway. But if they don't feel comfortable coming to you, and whether that's because they're the firstborn and they should, we give them so much responsibility, or the lastborn and, you're permissive. And I think that's the other thing that happens a lot in family dynamics. If there isn't a mutual trust and honesty, then that's where things go really sideways. So, example, my wife and I are arguing about something stupid that I did. Yes, I'm an adult and I did something stupid and she was pissed. And my son is downstairs playing games and he hears her yelling at me. And later she tells me that he came to her and said, you were yelling at Dad. I understand. I think I've lost respect for him for what he did. Yeah, it was stupid. Anyway, I'm driving him to school next day, and I said, hey, man, I did something stupid. Let me tell you about it. And I told him, and he goes, oh, and he acted like he didn't know, but he already knew. And then as I was about to drop him off, he goes, hey, Dad, I did something stupid too. I'm like, really? What'd you do? And he goes, this. And I said, yeah, that was stupid. Thank you for telling me. And he would have never told me if I hadn't opened up and had said and taken responsibility for my actions. And he saw that and modeled my behavior. And he said, I'm going to take responsibility for my actions too. And I think that was a moment of clarity around the honesty of, being who I am. I knew he heard, and I knew because my wife had confirmed. But the moment I decided that I wasn't just Dad, I needed to take responsibility as Dad and as the person I want him to grow up to be, I could say, hey, you know what, this is what I did. And I want to tell you because it's important, for him to be able to turn around and say, hey, I did something stupid too. Like that was a magic moment. And I didn't go back and then tell my wife. It's, I'm telling the team, I'm telling everybody who's watching right now, telling you guys, but it doesn't happen unless it starts with you. Yeah. It starts with your honesty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I like what you've said because it also kind of creates emotional safety for the child, right? Where a lot of people don't think about how, especially if it's a two-parent household, how your conflict between both partners affects your children and their conflict style, even as they grew up, right? If you were in a house where you never see your parents fight and because parents think it's healthy, but then now they grow up and they don't really know how to resolve conflict because they don't know what that looks like. So silence seems like peace, right? And those who fight too much but they make it out, it seems like, okay, I always have to confront at the very get-go, like confront. Yet not every time you need to confront immediately in wherever you are, right?
Exactly.
And so when you create that sense of emotional safety for your child, then they also know how to go about you as parents because they're like, okay, now I'm on mom's side. Now I'm on dad's side. Dad is the one who did something wrong. So, and it creates this sense of, even as parents, we're a team. No matter what, we're a team. So if we talk about this with the kids and they're like, okay, so they're okay now, right? And it was just one bad moment or one tough moment, and they worked it out, and I can work it out. You can have bad moments, or you can have moments of high tension, but resolution is always important, right? So when we create that vulnerability of being able to discuss these things, then it helps them, become better, well-rounded human beings in even handling conflict, right?
Yeah, the modeling that occurs behind closed doors, even what they hear in the distance, is like, this is probably as impactful as what you try to convey to them in terms of just like modeling good behavior. I found that one of my friends, I didn't know this, but one of the kids that I grew up with in high school, we all went to parties together, right? And her parents determined which parties she could go to as time went on, because they had an interview style when she would come home. So what the mom would do when the daughter came home, she'd say, "What'd you guys do?" And she says, "No matter what came out of my daughter's mouth, I would give no judgment. And I would just say, 'And then what happened?'" "Oh, yeah? And then what happened?" She goes, "I need the dirt on all of you kids because I just get my daughter to run with the information.
Yeah.
And no matter what I heard that made me go, oh God, you did what now? Yeah. You drove where? And who was drinking? And what was it?" She just, "And then what happened?" And just played it cool, but then used that intel to decide whatever. But that was very interesting. And so with Joseph, a lot of times I just what happened next? "Oh yeah, then what'd you do?" I have a lot of opinions as he's saying, and I just shove them all down and just let him run with the intel. That's one little technique. But I think the parents just agreed on that ahead of time. Just like, here's what we're going to do. Yeah. The whole idea of planning your discipline techniques. I can't. Did you and your wife actually like sit down and say, "Here's how we're going to do it"?
No, I don't think people do.
It'd be a good idea.
I'm not going to beat him, but I am going to be pissed.
I remember Wanda Sykes used to say that she got divorced because they didn't have any kids. She says, "If you have a production but you have no product, why are you in business?" Right? But in the same way, like if your product is a child, you'd think you have a production plan. You have a business plan.
Sure.
Yeah. So think of it in terms of a factory.
That would be scary. I think there is an interesting thing that you don't know the outcome of yet, which is, what's Joseph going to be like when he's a dad? And, you talked about modeling behavior, but I think right now, I actually really strongly think that your behavior with him will influence the way he behaves with his family when he's a father, right? When he is responsible for someone else or someone's else. So I think that's also one thing that we don't consider often, which is, what's the future effect of our behavior? Yeah. I want my kid to be able to apologize to his children when he's going to get angry.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the thing. It's like, don't get angry. Don't have sex. Don't do these things. It's big X everywhere. No, you're
but
human.
What should I do?
You're going to.
Yeah.
So how do I handle it? And that's what you're talking about, the plan.
I never thought of it that way at all. It's almost like I just constantly think about how will he become, but really what he becomes will be what affects his children.
Yeah. There's a trickle-down effect.
It's a butterfly effect.
I never even thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So there's some pretty good things. Like he's going to be a pretty cool dad, I suppose.
You think?
Yeah.
I think so.
In most ways, there's one area where I could probably model better behavior.
Well, I mean, when you think about it that way, you really do get reflective and you start thinking about your blind spots.
Yeah.
That's really convicting in some areas. Because there's some behaviors where I'm just like, I'm not his dad. Who cares? Just make sure he's safe. But in terms of what he's learning from me, interesting. Huh.
Well, that's the thing, because what you said earlier is absolutely true. I want to be better than my parents were. Yeah. So you have to, okay, what does that look like?
Yep.
Who is the person that I'm growing? Right? And if you think about it that way, and how do you want them to behave? What is the pass down?
Yeah.
What do you want to pass down? And I think it's not it's not related to moral fiber, unless that's the thing you want to pass down. It's not related to emotional understanding and capability, unless that's what you want to pass down. So it's not that you even have a plan. It's that I don't want my kid to be his children.
Right.
I mean, that's at the end of the day, it's simple stuff like that. I don't want my kid to yell at his kids when he's a dad.
Yeah.
Or a mom.
Yeah. I mean, amazing conversations all around. Something to think about, definitely.
Yeah.
It's just, I think, has come up in a couple of episodes. It's just intentional parenting, right? It has, as you're saying, a trickle-down effect, right?
Yeah.
So then you're thinking about their well-being, but it affects the next generations, right? So you want to model behavior that will be of benefit to them that they can carry with them when they become parents, and not just, I am really trying just not to be like my dad.
Yeah.
So I'll do everything in the exact opposite way, right?
Yeah.
Or not to be like my mom, and I'll do everything in the exact opposite way.
And there's an extreme also, my daughter, amazing girl, young woman, says, I don't want to be a parent because I want to enjoy my life. I want to go do stuff. I want to travel. I want to be, yes, I want to be famous, but because she's a performer, right? A singer, a musician, producer, and she wants to explore that and not have a child that she's responsible for. Right. That's intentional too.
Yeah.
I just feel like now I need to be more intentional, because we've had conversations about a lot of things, but I don't know if we've ever really talked about integrity specifically, why to not lie, why to tell the truth, and why to deal fairly and honestly. Like, I've been pretty intentional about sex and drugs and timing and schedule and hard work, etc. But I think there's a few other things I could probably be more intentional about.
And maybe, some of those things are just who you are. Like, you don't lie, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Right. So by not doing that, you're also showing you don't have to talk about it. In some ways, you can say, hey, it's not a good idea. Yeah. But also, if you haven't noticed, I don't lie.
I don't lie.
I don't lie to you. And I'm expecting you not to lie to me. And that's the extent of it.
Yeah, it could be, there's no reason to belabor the point. I've seen parents who just kind of go on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that works.
Until white noise.
No.
Shh, I'm not listening anymore.
Kids do what they see you do as well.
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
Not what you say. They
Right.
do what you see, what you do. Right. I actually told someone yesterday, they needed some help. I was like, I don't lie. And I think it caught them off guard because they were shocked. They're like, okay, it's just one tiny favor. And I'm just like, I don't lie. I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is from my parents not only telling me, but showing me over and over again. Oh my goodness, the one time I lied to my dad, and I was like, I can be a very good liar. I'll be honest, right? And so this time I was thinking I was getting away with it, and my dad looked at me and he was like, he asked me the question the first time, and I lied, and he knew I was lying, and he literally had evidence, but he didn't tell me, and he asked me again, and I lied, and I'm like, once you stick with it, you stick with it.
Oh yeah, you pull a Donald Trump.
Yep, you're like, no, I'm sticking with my story.
Here's the fact.
This is it. This is my version, yeah. And the third time, and oh my goodness, he gave me the worst beating of my life. Oh gosh. Like, I remember, just like, oh, that's one thing I can never forget. And it just is like, okay, he gave me chances. I'm glad he gave me chances. I'm not mad at him, by the way. But it's like, yeah, you lied. Yeah, it's like, we would have had a conversation if you just hadn't lied. But what was the point, right? Yeah. And so moving in life is like, okay, especially as an adult, like, I don't owe you anything, so I'll just tell you the truth. And you wouldn't beat me for it, right? It's just like, I won't do this for you. In fact, it's a favor. I don't owe you anything, right? Yeah.
There's a part of it, it's not lying, but being direct is also often seen as abrasive.
Yeah.
And I think there are things that you can expect your children to do, or you can teach, or you can model. Hey, I see this, and this is how I feel about it. And being direct when you're like that sometimes freaks people out because we like to, especially here in Kenya, we like to be very considerate and kind and nice. And if you just come at someone with the truth, they go, oh, well, I don't know. And so that's another thing I think, just your intentionality is also being direct, right? Explaining exactly what it is. And I do think why. I think that's a huge part. And it's not just because it's in the Bible. God said, right? Jesus believes this is what you should do. The 10 Commandments are this, but why?
Yeah.
Have the conversation why.
Yeah.
Here are the effects. I think you made a really good point about when we talked about the sexuality, right? I mean, it's not an absolute. There's a whole bunch of other contexts that we can't miss that's important. And maybe one thing will be important to one of the participants in that process.
Yeah.
And what's important will change over time.
Yeah. I mean, you said something and it reminded me, like the 10 Commandments, this is this. But one of my favorite scriptures actually says, it's in Isaiah, and it says, God says, come, let us reason together. Yeah. So even if it's like, these are the commandments, we can always reason together.
Yeah.
So it's like, anyone who tells me, it's we can come, let's reason together.
It's not just don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's let's have a conversation about why.
Yeah. Anyway, amazing conversations. Thank you so much, Darren, for being here. I enjoyed our conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Right.
And if you haven't already seen Darren, he is a comedian.
Yeah.
And he is part of a comedy troupe. And do you want to just plug it really quick while you're here?
Well, I think it'll already have passed by the time we play. But Stand Up Collective is a organization that does comedy shows all over Nairobi. The first Nairobi Laugh Bar is the first full-time stand-up comedy club in East Africa. It's right here in Lavington.
And you're actually kind of funny.
Sometimes there's some rough nights for sure.
Yeah, when you're not parenting, you can tell
number
some
of times
pretty good
Joseph
jokes.
has sat in the back of this comedy club and not laughed at my jokes. It's quite a lot. But we also do family shows for everybody. In fact, Joseph will actually do juggling with me. Sometimes on Sundays we have matinee shows for families that magic and puppetry and juggling. It's standupcollective.co.ke and look for the family comedy and magic shows.
Brilliant.
Nice.
Thank you.
Amazing.
All right.
Thanks, guys.